Nandito po tayo sa Glenfield Coastal Walkway. Imagine niyo, just a few minutes away from Auckland CBD, mapupuntahan natin itong nature reserve. Alamin natin ang kwento. Ha? Ako pong inyong Direk Rene, dito po sa PSTV5 Plus.
The next one is the adult life stage. So if that sediment settles on top of those eggs, they all unfortunately die as well. Because the tide doesn't just go from down here to up here, suddenly eggs. So that's what we do is we go down and we search for eggs, and when we find the eggs we have to look at them really closely and check that they have eye spots. Because if they don't have eye spots, that means they weren't fertilised. That means there weren't enough males and females in the same location. We're not, hang on, maybe I'll go first because I know where we're going to.
Just come at your own pace. But
Yes.
We're going to be dropping down later on, but just be careful when you go into the
Yeah.
through.
Still so intact down here where the fresh and the salt water meet. So if we look up this way, we can see the forest. So you've got the tall trees, you can see it starts getting a bit darker just up on the corner. This is a perfect example of how we want a spawning ground to look. Okay, the high tide level, so I came out here probably about a month ago on a very high spring tide, and the tide came right up to about here. Didn't quite come up over here, but you can see there are some dips, particularly down where Neil's standing. There was salt water all in there as well. Little pockets all the way up through the sides. Over there the water was creeping up on the edge, all the way up into the edge of the grasses on the opposite bank as well. It's all perfect where those fish can slowly, they'll hide in these overhanging plants, staying safe. The eels also know when there's a spawning event happening. They will come down I have not been lucky enough to actually witness one yet, but you can hear them slurping all the inanga up. So they just come through eating them all as they're waiting to get up into the grasses and spawn. So there is actually plenty of habitat here. It's the perfect habitat. We want a mix of these sort of exotic grasses and these more salt marsh species like oi oi, wee, sedges, the rushes, carrots. The mix is the perfect balance. What we actually do is we identify the top of the saline reef, so the upper limit of the saltwater cover, which is, for those of you that were with me setting the traps, is up at that little rocky waterfall. And then we identify the lower limit, suitable habitat for inanga the spawner. We're going to lay them side by side like this with a little gap in between. They become very damp, they become the perfect moist environment for those eggs to survive. They're very safe for the eggs. And when we come back, we can actually look in that hatch for eggs. It doesn't mean they're going to use them, they might use them, but they're at least one place that we can come to and check, as well as checking in all the vegetation as well. We've also been really lucky to help train a conservation dog who's called Watson. Water in it. They'll swim in, lay the eggs, and those eggs will settle right down at the base of the plants, right down in the root mat. So kind of you pull apart and they'll be right down low, and if there's too much sediment, that's when it starts to become a bit of an issue. And we just need to find somewhere that we can hit those waratahs in where they're going to stay very, very sturdy. So doesn't exist on this side. Okay, what did I say?
Just about
Yeah.
why that doesn't
Yeah.
work, because it's a stroke.
Okay.
Storms flush them down, they end up down in this area. Now they've probably got about a day or two while they're down here before they die, because the salt water comes and mixes and they don't like the brine. So after the last big storm, I came down and picked up 80 big ones and took them further up the stream and dropped them off so that it'll take them a bit longer to come down. So these are getting rarer and rare, more and more rare around Auckland region. To have them in streams so close to where people live is pretty amazing. And these ones, they can get up to, we've got them up to about 11 or 12 centimetres. They can live for about 45 years. So these are still young ones. But you'll notice there'll be the odd shell around, and if you find a shell and you want to take it home, that's fine. But it's a shame once you know that they get to here that they don't last very long. So we probably have to set up a kākahi recovery unit.
Absolutely. And it links in beautifully. A lot of New Zealand's fauna has evolved very interesting ways to survive. So the kākahi release, do you know the name of that? It's a
Yeah,
something.
Glaphidia or something.
Glaphidia, yeah. So it's like a little tiny blob.
The habitat that they like to be in is this scouring that happens when all the salt comes down. It acts like sandblasting, and it scours out their habitat. And we've even found them further up in places we'd never expect them, like stuck into straight clay. And they've got really strong tongues. They're actually very mobile. Like, they're not like the mussels in the ocean, which are attached. These guys will get out and they've got a big tongue, and they'll use it to burrow and drag themselves along, and they'll travel all through. We've found them, colonies of them will be here one year, and then they'll move right down to this other side. The whole lot of them will just head off down the stream and move around. So they are pretty specific about what they like, and this stuff, especially all this layer of fine sediment, covers them up. And because they just suck water in one end and pump it out the other and get little bits from the water, so they like the water to be a little bit murky. They don't mind, but not too murky. If it's too much, they get Imagine getting like your lungs clogged up with too much smoke and stuff. Eh? Got two species. One's called Echidella manzesii, and one's called Echidella aucklandica.
Okay.
Aucklandica is really rare, and this is manzesii. They're perfectly edible. A stream like this probably be okay, but unfortunately so much sewage whenever storms comes through our steam systems, and they pick up all the fine particulates. So if you have flood, you get the sewage outfall stuff gets connected to it, and these guys will pick it up. So I'd be a little bit wary about eating them. Like you want to keep them in something and let them hang out for a few days.
Oh,
Maria's eating one.
what do you call them again, Neil?
Kakahi.
Kakahi. Kakahi.
How do you make sure it doesn't wash away?
Great question. So we're going to shove a waratah either side of them, and then we put wire through the holes, over both of them and through the other holes, and then we bang the waratahs even deeper, and it basically just holds down tight across them. We can't ever 100% ensure that they aren't going to get washed away. It's really hard, particularly in any of these urban streams where we have so much stormwater being pumped down, that in winter during any sort of flood event, the water level will go from, like we know, low to very high, very fast, very quickly. And it can be quite unpredictable, and with sediment levels. And then in a sort of a more natural stream, alright, so see, we're going to leave a bit of a gap there between the two. So that's where they'll actually feel safe enough to swim up between them. Alright, yeah, so we want to get that close as possible to the side. So we'll just try. That one, we're hammering them when we need to push them in even further. Yes. Yeah? You can see just how soft the ground is. Sometimes that can take a very long time. Yeah, so we're going to twist some wire between these two waratahs to hold it in place, hopefully. And then I come back regularly over the next few weeks and check that they haven't shifted. Probably needs to go into that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just pop it through. Pop it through the hole, yeah. Go through there. And then we'll just twist it around. Yeah, I'll bring another bit back so we can always twist it back on that. I might still give you the helmet if you can just catch that as I twist it through.
Okay. Now we're gonna check what kind of birds live in the stream. For to do this, we're gonna get a sample from the water and from the stream bed and under these grasses, or literally from every part of the stream, for every part of the stream bed. We're gonna get little samples from with this kick net. It's called kick net because this is special technique to collect samples with it. And we're gonna put it here in this tray. We're gonna put a little bit water.
So we're going to go back through that hole.
Are you putting out any of these anywhere else in the upper harvest?
No, I'm not. Yeah. I don't think I'll bother at. Oh my gosh.
We do have an active trap line down to far out.
Okay.
So it's
Cool,
been
okay.
checked, and it's mice and rats,
Awesome.
and there's bait stations as well. But last year when you did it, there was just bait stations only. But I don't know how far they come down.
Yeah, so I've been, when I was looking for David Wales or something.
We'll do this side a little bit now. Do you want to have a go? Quite fun, I reckon.
If you hit it hard enough, you're a prize. So.
Yeah. I just think it's like some free therapy.
Yeah, another one.
So please come and take a look. Oh yes. Yeah, we have some bugs. Oh, God, very carefully.
Beautiful stream somewhere over there, which is beautiful.
It's just a little tricky, you know? And you come down off the Green Heights Road.
Some of them are very, very tiny.
Again, just because it's springtime doesn't mean but anywhere. We don't want to get rid of this. You know, there's definitely been a shift over the last 10, 20 years to just plant, get rid of all the grass.
Hey, can you-
This is
can you get them to
actually
put
perfect.
another bucket on and I'll film them? Put the bucket in.
It really is. Well, this is it, yeah. We're actually discovering that some of these species have been introduced can actually provide a really fantastic nursery. Fantastic job. Are you finding all the same species?
We've only got Menziesii
Okay.
in this system so far.
Right, so the one that Sarah, she's based up Maharangi way,
Yeah.
yeah, she was sort of trying to find the Aucklandica. But apparently it's yeah.
I've heard that. And,
Yeah.
and currently the extinct grayling.
Ah, okay, well that's no use. Definitely potentially be in this bit, remembering that this is still tidally influenced. So the inanga will only really be down here because they're coming down to start getting close to the spawning ground, otherwise they'll mostly be living a bit further up. And the banded cockapoo will definitely be living further up in the catchment. They travel quite far, as those whitebait, they just keep going until they get to basically the coldest, cleanest